Kathleen Fobig. She spent 20 years in jail for killing her 4 children. They are all under the age of 2. She's considered the most notorious serial killer in the history of Australia. She maintained her innocence. She saw the babies die. She had nothing to do with it. It was a mystery. How could that be? This is Alex. Nothing was wrong with him when he was born. He was a beautiful boy. But as time went on, he started to, at 3 years old, started to slur his words. He started to fall. And he developed all kinds of symptoms. His parents were very worried about him. They didn't know what to do. But they couldn't find what was wrong with him. They took him everywhere. But nothing was happening. And he was developing more and more and more symptoms. They couldn't find a diagnosis for Alex. Me? I just went to get an endoscopy, simple procedure. You get a camera, they look inside, no big deal. I thought I was going to go back to work a few hours later. I closed my eyes, 3, 2, 1. Wow, that sleep they put you in is delicious. But when I woke up, something was so wrong with me. I felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest, and he wouldn't get up. I felt crushed. I felt sicker than I ever felt before. I thought, I'll talk to the doctor. He'll say, oh, that happens, I've seen this before. I'll give you some medicine, you get some rest, and you're going to be all good. The doctor didn't know what it was. He didn't know what I had. He couldn't help me. I went from that doctor to another doctor, to every specialist. I went to every facility, 6 states, every medical hospital, every medical center. I saw the best doctors, and no one could tell me what was wrong with me. No matter how much I tried, nothing happened. Weeks turned into months, and months turned into years, and I couldn't find what was wrong with me. I thought that to have a diagnosis was a right, not a privilege. I could never imagine that there were people out there that were actually sick. They were sick, they were dying, they were having all the symptoms, but no one could explain what they had. And I couldn't understand because I never thought about that before. What I realized, that is an invisible group of people. They are all over. They are all over us. They are undiagnosed. Well, what do you do about that? I became a patient, but I'm also a doctor. As a board-certified psychologist, I diagnose and treat the most complex cases. I thought I can manage this health system I've been doing for so many years. Well, my patients struggle with uncertainty. What's wrong with me? Will I get better? Am I dying? My OCD patients, my anxiety and OCD patients are tortured by thoughts and emotions. Now, I had to learn the lesson that I've been teaching them for so many years. What's wrong with me? Will I get better? Am I dying? Wow. Managing uncertainty is something that I was really needing some help. And I needed tools, the same tools I've been teaching them. I realized that being a psychologist did not make me a better patient, but being a patient made me a better psychologist. So I thought, I am telling myself why. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to these people? And I realized that when you don't have control over the situation, although why is a very important question, why is not a question right here? It's not a good question. It's going to paralyze us. So I thought, well, what do we need to do? I recognize I've been doing this for a long time, so I thought we need a pause in our narrative. We need to focus not on the why, because that we can't control. Why are we sick? Why is this happening to me? But a pause, comma, and. Why it's happening to me, I don't know. I don't know why it's happening to me, and I'm not going to be able to find out. But if I focus on the comma, and, the next side, it's not that I'm avoiding what I'm thinking, is what my shift in focus is going to be, right? And so when I focus on the comma, and, I think of control. What can I do to control? When I think of the comma, and, I think about what I can do. When I think of the comma, and, it's going to be the choices that I make. The choices that I make to move forward, regardless of what's happening. Sometimes what's happening is pretty big, and your comma, and has to be really small because you're very sick. But we all manage uncertainty, and we all manage this in the same way. So comma, and is not only for the people who are struggling with a big thing, it's for all of us, right? Will I get promoted? Will you like me? Is this talk going well? Comma, and first 6 minutes, maybe I bombed it, but I have 6 more to go, right? I can save myself. So the comma, and is what we're going to do next. Well, Kathleen spent 20 years in jail for a crime that she did not commit. Kathleen actually was innocent. Her children, because there was a crime, they were able to save the DNA, and they found out that her children had a rare and fatal genetic disorder that killed them. I imagine Kathleen in that jail cell thinking, why me? Why do nobody believe me? Why is this happening to me? And I imagine that Kathleen, comma, and, became to find out what happened to her children and to be able to prove that she was innocent. Her babies actually were undiagnosed. So Alex, he actually, after 10 years, got a diagnosis. He was diagnosed with a newly discovered disease. When Alex was diagnosed, we were very excited because there was an answer. His family's comma, and was to make his life as adventurous as possible. So Alex, they packed all his equipment and wheelchair, and they flew all the way to China to meet the Transformers. But Alex had a big dream. There was something he really wanted to do. And it's something that you wouldn't imagine for someone in his situation. Alex wanted to take the ride of his life. Me? It's been 14 years since I had that colonoscopy, and I'm doing better, much better. My comma, and is happening here, right now with you. I want the world to know there are millions of people that are undiagnosed, and their information is very, very precious. It would allow us to new discoveries. It really is the future of medicine. But there is no mandatory protocol to collect that information, so in the future, we can make new discoveries. So one thing that is very sad, not only for science, but for the families that lose a loved one, and no material, nothing is left. They will serve a lifetime in prison. I know Alex really, really well. Really, really well. I spent many, many hours, many days with him. my common end brought me to them, to Alex's family. When I had to shift my focus from being sick, I decided to do something I had never done before, something much bigger than my illness. I decided to document the lives of people who are undiagnosed, and I made a documentary. Crazy story, but I made a documentary. And that's how I met his family. And my favorite story from Alex is one day when he's still well. Now he lost his functions, but he was still well. And he ran out of nowhere to his mom and said, "Ma, never give up. Never give up." So if I could leave you with three things that you could take home with you that will really, really support you for the regular things, for the day-to-day things, and four very big ones. Embrace uncertainty. Accept the unknown. Accept the unknown. 2, build resilience. Struggle through the struggle. Struggle through the struggle, the really important skill. Do that. And if you find your common end, you will find hope. Thank you.